Myself, Dr. Namdev Madne, Department of Chemistry, Sathe College. Today, we are going to discussing TYBSc Analytical Chemistry, Paper 4, Semester 5 syllabus. In that, today we will discuss Unit 3. Unit 3 that includes optical methods, and in that optical methods, we are going to discussing atomic absorption spectroscopy. The content of this topic are principle of atomic absorption spectroscopy, instrumentation, applications. Let us first see the principle of atomic absorption spectroscopy. When a metal salt solution is introduced into a flame, the solvent evaporates, leaving behind tiny solid particles of the salt. Then these solid particles vaporize into gaseous molecules, which are then converted into gaseous atoms. For example, if Mx is the solid salt, then this getting converted into Mx gaseous molecules, which is then getting converted into gaseous atoms, that is M of gas. Most of the atoms remain in the ground state. These atoms are capable of absorbing their own characteristic wavelength. When radiation from an external source, that is hollow cathode lamp, emitting a spectral line that corresponding to this characteristic wavelength is allowed to pass through a flame containing free unexcited atoms, the part of the radiation is absorbed by these ground state atoms. The absorption of radiation by ground state atoms follows Beer-Lambert's law. That is, absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of atoms in the flame and path length in the flame. An atom, after absorbing energy, changes from a low energy state to a high energy state. Only electronic transitions of the outermost electrons give rise to a series of well-defined narrow lines which are referred to as absorption spectra. For metals, the energies of many of these transitions correspond to wavelength in ultraviolet and visible regions. The total amount of light absorbed by atoms is given by the expression total amount of light absorbed at nu is equal to pi square upon mc into nf, where E is the charge of the electron, m is the mass of the electron, n is the total number of atoms in the light path that can absorb at frequency nu, f is the oscillator strength or ability of each atom to absorb at frequency nu. Since pi, E, m and c are constant, the above equation simplifies to total amount of light absorbed, that is equal to constant into n into f. The above expression does not involve wavelength and temperature. Therefore, atomic absorption is independent of wavelength of absorption and temperature. Now let us see the instrumentation. The components of an atomic absorption spectrophotometer, they are as shown in the below figure. It includes the source of radiation, that is nothing but hollow cathode lamp, rotating chopper, burner, prism monochromator, then detectors, that is photomultiplier tube, AC electronic amplifier and readout device. The source of radiation. The source should emit the radiation which can excite the atoms of the element from the ground state to the excited state. Hollow cathode lamp is used as a source of radiation. It consists of a hollow cathode curve made up of the element under study. For example, if you want to detect copper in the sample, then the lamp will have a hollow copper curve as a cathode. The cathode is protected in a glass shield. Tungsten wire functions as an anode. The two electrodes are enclosed in a glass envelope containing an inert gas like neon or argon at low pressure. When a voltage of 300 volts is applied between the two electrodes, the atoms of the inert gas ionize and the positively charged ions are attracted to the cathode. The fast moving ions hit the cathode surface and remove the surface metal atoms by a process called as sputtering. These metal atoms now collide with the highly energetic gas ions and get excited. These excited metal atoms emit their characteristic radiation, which is usually consists of a small number of individual wavelengths. This emitted radiation appears as a bright glow in the hollow cathode cup. Each hollow cathode lamp emits its characteristic wavelength associated with the emission line spectrum of that metal. For example, for the analysis of nickel in a sample, nickel lamp is used. This somewhat restricts the number of elements which can be analyzed using atomic absorption technique. This is the figure of hollow cathode lamp that include the anode which is made up of tungsten, then a hollow cathode cup that is made up of the element which is to be tested. Then let us see next component, that is rotating chopper. A rotating chopper that breaks the beam of light coming from the hollow cathode lamp, and the resulting intermittent light produces a pulsating or alternating current in the photomultiplier tube. This pulsating current is amplified in an AC electronic amplifier. Why this rotating chopper is used? Because in atomic absorption spectroscopy, the light coming from the flame is a continuous beam and produces a steady current in the photomultiplier tube. This steady current is not amplified, and therefore the absorption of light by the metal atoms present in the flame that can be studied without any interference from the light coming from the flame. Therefore, rotating chopper is used to get an alternating current. Next component is the flame atomizer, that includes the burners. A flame is produced by burning a fuel gas like hydrogen in the presence of an oxidant gas, which is usually oxygen. The gaseous atoms in the ground state absorb their characteristic wavelength from the beam coming from the hollow cathode lamp. Burners used are of two types: total consumption type burner and premix or laminar flow type of the burner. These burners are same as used in flame emission spectroscopy. The sensitivity of the flame atomizer or burner is less as large amount of the sample is drained off and hence does not reach the flame in a premix burner or laminar flow type burner. In case of total consumption burner or turbulent flow type burner, the droplets are sometimes so big that they cannot undergo atomization. The fraction of the sample which is atomized that stays in the path of the optical beam provided by the flame for a fraction of second, about 10 raised to minus 4 second. And therefore, for this atomization process, electrothermal atomizer is used. This electrothermal atomizer, they are more sensitive as the entire sample is atomized and the time of stay of the atoms in the optical beam is about 1 second. In an electrothermal atomizer, the sample is first heated at a relatively low temperature to remove the solvent by evaporation. It is then etched at a higher temperature on an electrically heated carbon surface which is in the shape of hollow tube or cup or boat or trough. After etching, the temperature is increased rapidly to 2000 to 3000 degrees Celsius to atomize the sample in a few milliseconds. The absorption of radiation by the atomized sample can then be measured above the carbon surface. An electrothermal atomizer that consists of a graphite tube open at both ends. This tube is of about 5 cm long and it has internal diameter of about 1 cm. The sample is introduced through a central window in the tube. The two electrodes are fitted at the ends of the tube. A stream of an inert gas like argon or nitrogen flows in and around the tube to prevent the possible oxidation of the graphite material. The entire assembly is kept in a water-cooled metal jacket. An electrothermal atomizer is popularly referred to as a graphite furnace. So this figure is the electrothermal atomizer showing the different components. The next component we will see monochromator. The transmitted beam coming that enters the monochromator, which disperses the beam into its individual wavelength. When the monochromator is rotated, these wavelengths are focused one by one on the photocathode of a photomultiplier tube. Monochromators are of two types, prisms and diffraction gratings. The next component is the photomultiplier tube. Each radiation incident on the photocathode of a photomultiplier tube that produces an electric current whose magnitude is proportional to the intensity of the incident light. The electric current is then amplified. Usually the intensity of radiation corresponds to the most intense emission lines of the metal. For example, copper shows an intense emission line at wavelength 324.7 nanometer. This is the wavelength which the copper atoms absorb when the metal is introduced into a flame. In the emission spectrum of copper, the spectral line corresponding to the wavelength 324.7 nanometer has maximum intensity. The amount of light absorbed by the metal sample is given by the difference in the intensities of the transmitted light in the absence called as I0 and in the presence of metal atoms IT in the flame. This difference in the intensities is measured as the difference in the electric current produced at the photocathode of photomultiplier tube before and after the introduction of metal sample into the flame. I0 is determined by spraying distilled deionized water into the flame, and IT is determined by spraying the metal sample into the flame. By applying Beer-Lambert's law, we get absorbance is equal to A is equal to log to the base 10 I0 upon IT, that is equal to minus log to the base 10 of T, where T is equal to IT upon I0. That is nothing but it is called as transmittance. The absorbance or percentage transmittance values for different wavelengths are recorded on a chart paper or read on a digital readout device. Now let us see applications of atomic absorption spectroscopy. The first application that is the qualitative analysis. In the qualitative analysis that include identification of the elements. The particular element used as the cathode material in the hollow cathode lamp that can be detected in a sample. For example, copper lamp can be used for the detection of copper in the sample. Hence, a separate lamp is required for the analysis of each element. Since a sample may contain more than one element, the analysis by atomic absorption spectroscopy is a lengthy and tedious process. As a result, this technique is not much used for qualitative analysis of element, but nowadays multi-element hollow cathode lamps are used for the simultaneous detection of different elements present in the sample. But these multi-element hollow cathode lamps are costly. AS is used to estimate trace metals in biological substances, that is used to detect toxic metals like copper, nickel and zinc in food products. AS is used to estimate sodium and potassium in blood serum. It is used to estimate lead in petrol. Now let us see quantitative analysis. That quantitative analysis that include different methods like calibration curve method, standard addition method and the internal standard method. In that first method we will see calibration curve method. In this method, a series of standard solutions containing a known amount of the element is prepared, ranging the concentration from 1 mg per dm cube to 10 mg per dm cube. Then distilled deionized water is first sprayed into the flame and the readout meter is adjusted to zero absorbance or 100% transmittance. The standard solutions and the unknown are then introduced one by one into the flame and their absorbance or percentage transmittance values are determined. Before each solution is sprayed into the flame, the distilled water is introduced into the flame and the reading is adjusted to zero absorbance or 100% transmittance. Various standard solutions, the absorbance values are plotted against the concentration of metal in the various standard solutions. From this, we can get a graph, straight line graph. From the linear calibration curve, the concentration of unknown solution can be easily found out. The concentration of unknown solution is calculated by using the equation A is equal to MC, where M is the slope of the calibration curve, A is the absorbance and C is the concentration of the metal. Therefore, concentration of metal C is equal to A upon M. That can be calculated. The next method is the standard addition method. In this method, the sample solution of unknown concentration X is aspirated into the flame and its absorbance is determined with reference to the blank. Then, a series of solutions containing a dependent amount of the unknown solution X and varying amounts of the standard solutions S ranging concentrations from 1 ppm to 10 ppm are aspirated one by one into the flame and their absorbance values are determined with reference to the blank. Then a graph of absorbance is plotted against the concentration of X and concentration of S. The graph obtained is extrapolated to intersect the concentration axis. The point of intersection gives the concentration of the unknown solution X. So this is the calibration curve of standard addition method. From this extrapolation graph, we can get the concentration of unknown solution. The next method we will see, that is the internal standard method. An internal standard is a substance that is added in a fixed amount to all the standard solutions, blank and the sample. The chemical nature of the internal standard should be similar to that of the substance which is being estimated and it should not be present in the sample matrix. The absorbance values of the internal standard and the analyte are determined using their appropriate hollow cathode lamps and detectors. Then the ratio of absorbance of analyte AA and the absorbance of internal standard AI is plotted against the concentration of standard solutions S from the calibration curve of AA upon AI versus C, the concentration of the sample Cx that can be determined. So this is the internal standard method calibration curve. On the y-axis, the ratio of absorbance of analyte to the absorbance of internal standard is plotted, and on the x-axis concentration of standard is plotted. Then we can get a straight line graph. From this straight line calibration curve, we can get the concentration of unknown solution. Then let us see the limitations of AES. There are certain limitations of AES also. A separate hollow cathode lamp is required for the analysis of each element, but nowadays multi-element hollow cathode lamps are also available for simultaneous analysis of several elements, but these lamps are costly. Metals like lanthanum, aluminum, titanium, tungsten, molybdenum, vanadium and silicon are normally not analyzed using AES because they form stable refractory oxides in the flame. These oxides can be dissociated using a nitrous oxide acetylene flame. Third limitation, anions like phosphate form stable phosphates with metals like calcium and magnesium. This interference can be avoided by adding a lanthanum or thorium salt, since lanthanum or thorium combines preferentially with phosphate ions. Then this interference that can be removed. This anion interference is more pronounced in aqueous solutions Some cations also interfere, though to a smaller extent as compared to the anions. For example, aluminum interfere with alkaline earth metals, copper interferes with calcium, and magnesium also interferes with calcium. Fourth limitation is that if two elements in the sample absorb at the same wavelength, then their simultaneous analysis becomes difficult. For example, manganese and gallium, they both absorb at 403.3 nanometer. Therefore, this interference can be avoided by extracting out the interfering element using chemical separation technique. Fifth limitation is that the role of the solvent is more important in AS. Elements in aqueous solutions are more difficult to atomize as compared to the elements in non-aqueous solutions. Hence, absorbance readings are less in aqueous medium than in the non-aqueous solutions. This lowers the reliability of the estimates made in aqueous medium. Next limitation is that in flame photometry, elements having low ionization potential like alkali metals like lithium, sodium and potassium easily ionize in high temperature planes. For such elements, moderate temperature flames are used to prevent ionization. This ionization weakens the absorption of light by the metal atoms, leading to somewhat incorrect estimates of the metal concentrations. Now let us see advantages of atomic absorption spectroscopy over flame emission spectroscopy. The AS technique is very specific as the atoms of a particular element absorb their own characteristic wavelength and spectral interference is less than in flame photometry. Then large amount of ground state atoms absorb radiations, thus temperature changes do not affect the absorption. In flame photometry, small number of excited atoms emit light. The number of excited atoms depends on the flame temperature in flame photometry. The absorbance readings have a greater magnitude as compared to that of the emission intensity readings. Hence, AS is a more sensitive technique for elemental analysis. AS is more sensitive for silver, boron, bismuth, cadmium, cobalt and iron. Flame photometry is more sensitive for aluminum, barium, calcium, potassium and lanthanum. Both techniques are equally sensitive for copper, chromium, manganese, molybdenum and nitrogen. Thank you.